Happy Wednesday, day after the election. The government is still shut down. I think today makes the 35th day, tying it, I think, for the longest government shutdown ever. I was just thinking while I was eating lunch, what is Donald Trump's motivation to reopen the government? And I couldn't come up with anything. I don't think he cares one way or the other whether or not the government is open. I think the election results from last night are going to start having an impact on Republicans in the House and the Senate about reopening government, because Republicans got shellacked nationwide last night. Every state and locality that had an election, Democrats won by a lot. Donald Trump even acknowledged in a tweet that he put out last night or this morning that the two reasons Republicans got so hammered yesterday was because he wasn't on the bill and because Republicans are being blamed for the shutdown. Donald Trump desperately wants to keep the House of Representatives in the midterms. I think that's his only motivation. Lola! Hang on. He doesn't want to get impeached every other month. But right around the 4th of July, he signed into law his big, beautiful bill, which gave him all of his ICE funding, all of his DHS funding. He said around that time, this bill gives me everything I want. I don't really have any use for Congress anymore. We don't need anything more from Congress. And because he's not, the reason that he had to pass the big, beautiful bill, because it was budgetary. He can't do that unilaterally. That has to come from Congress. He got his ICE budget for the next 4 years. He can do what he wants to with the National Guard until the courts stop him. He wants to use ICE military forces against Americans on American streets. He has everything in place he needs in order to do that. During the first 2 years of Joe Biden's term, the legislative agenda was massive. And with Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the thinnest of margins, they passed an absolutely massive legislative agenda that was very impactful. But they did it via legislation. Donald Trump is doing everything he wants via executive order and other illegal bullshit. In the case of like Venezuela, he hasn't issued an executive order saying I'm going to war with Venezuela. He's just ordering the military to go to war with Venezuela. And now he's talking about doing it in Nigeria. But I add on top of that Mike Johnson, first of all, for the August recess, he put the House into recess a week early to avoid a vote on the Jeffrey Epstein files and forcing the DOJ to release the Epstein files. This time around, when the government, he put the House in recess before the government shut down. They passed a continuing resolution. He put the House in recess, and they've been in recess for 5 or 6 weeks. And he won't bring them back because when he does, he's going to have to swear in the new representative-elect Grijalva from Arizona, who will be the 218th vote on a discharge position for the Epstein files, for the DOJ to release the Epstein files. Donald Trump doesn't want him to do that. Donald Trump doesn't want the Epstein files released. He won't release the files because he's all over the files. And so it's like we've got an authoritarian who doesn't give a shit if the government's open or not, regardless of whether or not it's hurting American citizens. And we've got a Speaker of the House who's covering for Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein while the government is closed. Mike Johnson can continue to cover for Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein as long as the government remains closed. So he doesn't want to open it back up. Donald Trump doesn't want to open it back up. John Thune is just hanging out in the Senate with his dick in his hand, saying, no, we're not going to do anything unless you let us take health care away from 20 million Americans. I wouldn't be surprised if this government shutdown lasts for months. The election results last night, I think, are going to start to impact House and Senate Republicans. But will that be enough to motivate anything? I don't know. It's not looking good. And this is exactly what the Project 2025 folks want. They want the complete dismantling of the administrative state. What better way to dismantle the administrative state than to just shut it down? What better alternative? If we can't eliminate it, eradicate it, let's just turn it off. Hit the off switch, which is what we have now. The folks over at the Heritage Society are probably loving this. I mean, God knows Russell Vought is.